Hi folks, this is Jay and hope you're okay today. It's good to see you. We're just reflecting on an article by Alvin Plantinga called Intellectual Sophistication and Basic Belief in God. This basically presents his argument in what he calls properly basic belief. That is a basic belief that you hold to that cannot be proved evidentially, but is consistent with reality. I'm just going to read to you a section of his paper. He says, hence I believe in a basic way. He writes, now my question is this: called P itself be my reason for thinking Q false, or must that reason be some proposition distinct from P? Consider an example. I am applying to the National Endowment for the Humanities for a fellowship. I write a letter to a colleague trying to bribe him to write an endowment, a glowing letter on my belief. He indignantly refuses and sends the letter to my chairman. The letter disappears from the chairman's office under mysterious circumstances. I have a motive for stealing it. I have the opportunity to do so, and I have been known to do so things in the past. Furthermore, an extremely reliable member of the department claims to have seen me furtively entering the chairman's office at about the time when the letter must have been stolen. The evidence against me is very strong. My colleagues reproach me for such underhanded behavior and treat me with evident distaste. The fact of the matter, however, are that I didn't steal the letter and in fact spent the entire afternoon in question on a solitary walk in the woods. Further, I clearly remember spending that afternoon walking in the woods, hence I believe in the basic way. I was alone in the woods all that afternoon, and I did not steal the letter, but I do have strong evidence for the denial of, for I have the same evidence as everyone else that I was in the chairman's office and took the letter, and this evidence is sufficient to convince my colleagues, who are eminently fair-minded and initially well disposed towards me, of my guilt. They are convinced on the basis of what they know that I took the letter, and I know everything they know. So I take as basic, but I have substantial reason to believe, a defeater of 7, according to Q. If I am to be rational in this situation, I must have even better reason to believe that the potential defeater is false. Do I? Well, the only reason I have for thinking this potential defeater false is just 7 itself. I don't have any independent reason to think the defeater false. The warrant I have for 7 is non-propositional warrant. It is not conferred upon 7 by virtue of my believing that proposition on the basis of some other proposition, for I don't believe 7 on the basis of any other proposition. In this situation it is obvious, I take it, that I am perfectly rational in continuing belief in this basic way. The reason is that it's the situation, the positive of epistemic status or warrant that has for me by virtue of memory is greater than that conferred upon its potential defeater by the evidence I share with my colleagues. So that's a key passage in the article Intellectual Sophistication and Basic Belief in God, Alvin Plantinga. I'm just going to read to you, if you go on Wikipedia and read basic belief, this is helpful. Under the epistemological view called foundationalism, basic beliefs, also commonly called foundational beliefs, are axioms of a belief system. Foundationalism holds that all beliefs must be justified in order to be believed. Beliefs therefore fall into 2 categories. Beliefs that are properly basic, in that they do not depend upon justification of other beliefs, but on something outside the realm of belief and non-justification. Beliefs that derive from one or more basic belief and therefore depend on the basic beliefs of the validity. Within this basic framework of foundationalism exist a number of views regarding which types of beliefs qualify as properly basic. That is, what sorts of beliefs can be justifiably held without the justification of other beliefs. In classic foundationalism, beliefs are held to be properly basic if they are either self-evident axiom or evident to the senses empiricism. However, Anthony Kenny and others have argued that this is a self-refuting idea. In modern foundationalism, beliefs are held to be properly basic if they were either self-evident axioms or incorrigible. One such axiom is René Descartes' axiom cognito ergo sum, I think therefore I am. Incorrigible, incorrectable beliefs are those one can believe without possibly being proven wrong. Notably, the evidence of the senses is not seen as properly basic because Descartes argued all our sensory experience could be an illusion, in what Keith Lehner has called fallible foundationalism, also known as moderate foundationalism. The division between inferential and non-inferential belief is retained, but the requirement of incorrigibility is dropped. This is claimed allows the senses to resume their traditional role as the basis of non-inferential belief despite their fallibility. In Reformed epistemology, beliefs are held to be properly basic if they are reasonable and consistent with a sensible world view. Anti-foundationalism rejects foundationalism and denies there is some fundamental belief or principle which is the basic ground or foundation of inquiry and knowledge. So what are my thoughts here? Well, I think that I don't know, it's very difficult. I think that in the theory of knowledge, I think that verification is multifaceted and multi-leveled. So what that means is for Alvin Plantinga to take one element of epistemology, i.e. his properly basic idea, and then to assume and think that that can be a defeater of whatever anybody else says, I think is naive. I think that epistemology is multifaceted, multi-layered, and interdisciplinary. And therefore, if you're going to do epistemology, you have to be willing to engage on a number of complex and dynamic levels. What that means is this, that it's naive of the evidentialist to come and critique a person's position, whether there be an atheist or a Christian, and to deny the issues of properly basic belief, i.e. those beliefs that you don't need any evidence to believe, but that are basic to the foundations of knowledge. So for the evidentialist to deny these issues is very silly. On the other hand, the person who takes Plantinga's position and says properly basic beliefs are ways of defeating the evidentialist, it could be argued that your properly basic belief could be defeated by somebody else's properly basic belief. Somebody else might say, well, I have a properly basic belief that I don't have to prove. And so you're in a defeater standoff where you are just comparing your own properly basic belief. What I think's better is the more presuppositional approach, where you basically state your presuppositions and then you do an internal critique of those presuppositions, whether they're consistent with reality. But at the same time, you have an evidential approach where you provide evidences, and not only do that, but you have subjective and objective reference that you're showing that Christianity is subjectively viable, i.e. providing joy, love, peace, and these are experiential experiences that we're having that you can point to. But at the same time, there is the objective evidence, whether it be scientific, whether it be historical, in the defense of Christianity. So in the top and bottom is, I think that Alvin Plantinga comes from the analytical philosophy tradition. I think he says some good points against the kind of sophisticated epistemological atheist. But I do think that he needs to think, as do his opponents, on a multiplicity of level and interdisciplinary thinking concerning epistemology. Those are my thoughts. So I would say that rather than say properly basic beliefs, I would say my presuppositions are more consistent than somebody else's worldview. That's how I would state things.